kids. Welcome to the launch of... Oh, shoot, I've already forgotten the name of the boat, or the ship.
Oh, Heaven 1.
Welcome to the launch of Heaven 1. We're sending you to Iridani, funny enough. Today, we are talking about Dennis E. Taylor's first novel in his series, We Are Bob. It's We Are Legion. The story talks about how basically radical-leaning political thinking takes over and changes the landscape of America after, I should say, our protagonist Bob is killed, and he has chosen to be cryogenically frozen. When he wakes up in this new society, and they've taken his brain, essentially his essence, and they've turned him into an artificially intelligent program. And his wish was to have basically eternal life, and in a sense, he's gotten that. I think that We Are Bob talks a lot about, like I said, radical political leanings. Also this, I don't know, I want to think a desire for eternal life, but he gets what he wants and is kind of happy with it. Don't you think?
Yeah. Okay. Does he get what he wants? Our main character, Bob, has made $1 billion off his software company selling.
Yeah.
And he sells it to Microsoft. They don't call it that, but it's Microsoft.
Yeah.
And his first goal is, I'm going to have myself cryogenically frozen. What the why? Why? Because I think only the really eccentric millionaires or the trillionaire.
Or Ted Williams.
Right. Or Ted Williams are the ones who have, or Disney, are the ones who have thought about, so you're going to cut my head off and freeze it. Got it. What's the goal of that? Is that one day they will resurrect me so I can live again? But the Bob that we know at the beginning of the book only wants to spend his wealth on what? Going to this cool sci-fi convention, living, like just getting out there and just living. He's not about exploring or setting up brave new worlds or seeking out new life and new civilizations to boldly go where no one has gone before. He's not about that, except as a sci-fi fan.
Right.
So I don't know. Does that Bob get what he wants? The other thing is, you just said that in the future, 100 years and so later, they resurrect him as an AI consciousness. Is that Bob?
Okay, that's an issue that he has to self-contemplate.
That's right.
Is this really me or not? And he kind of comes to the conclusion of, it doesn't matter if it's me or not.
Right.
But I don't know. I thought that, okay, that's something, I guess we're getting right into it. You have this, you've got to progress the story because it's about Bob. And he becomes this artificial intelligence. But there's really, outside of him having that brief moment of, is this really me? And he has the issues of, I can't really talk to my family. But other than that, he's really getting everything he desires because he creates these artificially intelligent worlds. He is like, at the end, he's starting to talk about how he's developing muscles, and I can feel and I can taste and I can create any world I want.
By creating a cybernetic body for him.
Right.
That's right.
In which, eventually in the series, he's going to get that, right? And so to me, we've been talking about complexity in our last few episodes. There's no complexity with that outside of, is this really me? Is this really me? And do I get to talk to my family?
Well, it's the human experience that he's yearning for. He's okay with being this program. He's okay with learning how to do these little tasks and whatever. He's okay with, my mission is to go out to the stars. I'll figure out how to circumvent their protocols and I'll do this my way. He's okay with that. He's also okay with it as long as he can create this VR experience to see it through. Because that's angling for the human experience of seeing, feeling, hearing and tasting and whatnot. But you're still bound by the confines of this software experience of yourself. if he can transport that from the software into a body that can have autonomous movement and touch and actual things, then you're actually coming back to being the human that you were before, or you're synthetically close, right? I don't know that that's even like, in the reading of this, that's not even like the surface level priority of what he and the other Bobs are doing. The Bob 1, Bob Prime, whatever, the Bob, like that's one of his side projects that he's always working on, right? But yeah, their primary goal is to get away from Earth and colonize the planets.
Because we've allowed it to be destroyed.
Yeah. Man, I was so frustrated again when I started reading this book because Bob immediately gets hit and killed on the same day
that he makes all his money.
Right? And he's resurrected 100 and some years in the future. And he finds out that Earth is different. It has basically congealed into, 5 superpowers? Yeah. And the United States no longer exists.
Right.
Now they've coalesced into a North American power called Faith. Faith. First Autonomous, Independent, Theocratic Hegemony is what they call themselves. They're basically a theocracy.
Yeah.
It's run by pastors.
Yeah.
And then you also have Brazil,
which is so random.
Team China, and you have Team Europe, the United States of Europe, and what's the other one that I'm forgetting?
Australia.
Australia is out there. Yeah. The Middle East is no longer really a factor by this point because foreshadowing, they ran the route that we're about to run. They involved themselves in a mini nuclear civil war. And the Middle East is a wasteland now that's no longer a player.
You don't even go in there.
But ultimately, that's where these major world powers are running themselves into, is that the pastors of faith cannot tolerate the United States of Europe, cannot tolerate China, cannot tolerate the militaristic Brazil, cannot tolerate each other. So we're all angling, get off the planet first, and whoever can colonize the stars, that's going to be the winner. But now you're trying to shoot each other down. And there's so much infighting because even the pastors can't agree. And we know that. We know that most of these churches out here, we can say, oh, we're all good Christians, but we all have our disagreements. And I don't know, they're teaching them this way, these godless heathens down the road. So there's even infighting among faith trying to disintegrate Bob before he can leave Earth. And I remember just like, man, this is so frustrating. You're telling me this is where the future is going, that we're going to fall back into our tribalness and form these super states that are at war over tribal issues and tribal faiths and tribal. Oh my gosh, really? It takes some forward-thinking selflessness on behalf of the doctor that is coaching Bob to be like, look, they're watching us. As soon as you get uploaded, run for it.
Yeah.
And disconnect all of the, put up firewalls, disconnect all the self-destruct sequences, get gone. And Bob's last pictures from across the solar system are of Earth flickering because they're just nuking themselves.
You said you really enjoyed this book.
Boy, I loved it.
And I was like, man, it's all right. It's all right.
And I have been waiting on talking about this because I told April, I was like, I'm like up to the gills. I love this book left and right. And I was thinking, why was Drew mid? And you said you liked it at first, but it got to a point where you're like, about it.
I think that the novel to me is divided up into thirds. You could divide it up into 3 parts. The first part is Bob being killed and then becoming conscious as this AI program, and them training him and preparing him for his mission and launch. And then part 2 is when he finally gets to his destination. He's trying to sort out what to do, and he starts to create new Bobs and new heavens. You've got heaven 2, heaven 3, or whatever. And then part 3 is everybody kind of goes their separate ways and fulfills their own missions, and they have their own personalities and things like that. I really liked part 1 because I did feel like that there was some self-examining as like society. You were talking about like tribal issues. We're already there. Yeah. We're already there with tribal issues.
Right.
And the theocracy thing. I mean, I'm a proud Christian, and I love Jesus and God, but would not be surprised if, unfortunately, that was the path that was taken, was a Christian theocracy.
A nationalist Christian theocracy.
Which I think for some people is the ultimate gain, Yes. So I thought that, and as a Christian, it's tough to stomach that, because there are those who, I'm going to say, I think that there are those who are trying to progress themselves politically and sacrificing their faith, but saying that this is does that make sense? I'm waving this Christian flag, but secretly I'm trying to get power. And if it means that I have to fake this and not be true to this religion to get, even if I create this national Christian theocracy, who cares if I have the power? I think that's how a lot of that's going.
Yes.
It is hard to stomach sometimes. I took a picture of this because it's such a large paragraph. It says he settled himself more comfortably in his chair and assumed that far-off expression people get when they're lecturing. So he's telling Bob how they got to where they're at.
During a faculty meeting.
Yeah.
So just sparing now.
It says in 2036 the USA in 2036 the USA elected an over-the-top, unapologetic, fundamentalist president named Andrew Handel. Yes, that Handel. During his term, he tried to ban election of non-Christians to any public post and try to remove the constitutional separation between church and state. He was nominated, supported, and elected based on his religious views rather than on his political or fiscal expertise. And of course, he appointed persons of similar persuasion to every post he could manage, in some cases blatantly ignoring laws and procedures. He and his cronies rammed through far-right policies with no thought for consequences. In a number of cases, when challenged on the results, he declared that God would not allow their just cause to fail. He eventually brought the USA to its knees in an economic collapse that made the 2008 recession look like a picnic in the park.
Yep.
So, again, I think that was tough to stomach because I think if you were being objective, you can identify some of those things going on now, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I think in the first third of this, I thought, okay, this is tough to read because I know that it's kind of coming at it towards a Christian angle. And again, I am a Christian, but I do think that there are some wrongs being done politically. And I thought, there's some self-examining that some of us need to do there. And then also the consciousness thing where, he was, one of his friends had told him, why do you want to be immortal? Your family will be dead. If you wake up, none of us will be around. So why not enjoy the time you've got now? And Bob kind of thinks about that a lot. Like, who's my family? Where are they at? Who do I have left? Things like that. Also, I kind of like that there were people on the inside who were kind of like, I guess like us, where it's like, we're Christian, but we don't agree with how this is being ran politically. And so we're trying to find ways to, I don't know. I just liked that. I felt like that was like really a good part. And then when he got out to where he was going to go, it was kind of like, okay, that's fine. But then, I don't know, part 3 to me, it was just kind of,
Okay.
It diminished. Like, it started off like pretty good 4 stars, slowly diminished to where it was just like a 3 stars. So
I was on a different trajectory. I was just dialing up from 4 to 5. Wow. I was so excited about this. I got really steamed at the beginning because I was like, you're telling me this is a 2016 book?
I know.
Okay, so we all kind of saw this happening, right? I know that when we recorded before about Richard Nixon, and I was like, Nixon probably wasn't such a bad guy. He did some bad, corrupt thing, got it. But I don't know, I could see myself kind of voting for him. My kids will know, Dad, Grandpa was never Trump. He was never this. You can go back and look at my Facebook, everything. I was against this from way back when. And I'm still a diehard, this is way wrong.
Yeah.
And so when I crack this book open and I'm reading this, and it's like, it's just a roadmap for where we've continued to go. Right after that, Dr. Landers is telling him that the official history doesn't mention any of this, the coup, none of this. And Handel is credited with being voted in after running on a platform of creating theocracy. So the official history doesn't even talk about that. And it is illegal. It is a felony, punishable by re-education, to criticize the government. And boy, look at our government of free thinkers who come after teachers for teaching the un-American way of talking about it. We haven't said un-American since Joseph McCarthy. Like, what the heck is this?
Well, even, lately they're starting to restore in the national parks the plaques and things that mention slavery or civil rights, and they were, we don't want to talk about that.
Revisionist history.
Right. Yeah.
Well, speaking of truth, this whole venture in the ministry is backed by the Ministry of Truth, which for any of our 1984 readers, Ministry of Truth, Mini-True, is the bad guy. Like, this is the government agency that's all about rewriting history. So what the heck? What the heck? We're the bad guys in this? Yes.
Are we the baddies?
We are the baddies, it turns out. But, I mean, you can see that there are individuals like Dr. Landers who are like, look, this is my country. I'm on the good guy's side, but I can recognize we have to subvert some of this in order to do the greater good. Yeah. And you mentioned it too. I mean, I consider myself a faithful Christian, but a nationalist, so-called Christian government is not what Christ had in mind, right? Like, progressing down this path, it's like taking up the One Ring. You can say that I will do this for good, but the One Ring is going to corrupt you, saying that if I get elected, I'll make Christianity the good version of. No, you're not. This is going to corrupt everything we believe to be sacred and true. So yeah, I was heated by that in the first part. And plus, I like a good a dystopia. I like a good end of the world story. And I was like, oh man, it made me so sick when I saw that Earth was flickering. I was like, oh no, they're all dead. So Bob officially launches and gets past the defenses. But a couple of Brazilian probes have also gotten out. So who else managed to leave Earth? Who else is out there, right? I really liked that part of cruising through the galaxy. I like that his first stop had to be Saturn, too.
You just want to see it.
Like, I got to be able to see Saturn, right? And then it's like, all right, let's head for this point. Eridani. Oh, just like in Project Hail Mary, we're going to go out to, okay, Arid, got it.
Arids, I'm sorry,
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to get out and see all of these places too. I liked, as a kid who grew up on Star Trek and Star Wars and everything, I was like, oh, I know this. I also liked, this would make such a brilliant Command and Conquer video game. Because what happens? Bob gets to a new star system. You set up the scenario. Our first mission, build a factory. Got it. Or scan for materials, then build a factory. Then, we have enemies over here. Build ships. And then, build this. Oh, got it. And then once your scenario is complete, victory. And then you can go on to colonize, make more Bobs, move to another one. I loved that mentality. I want to play that video game. I love this. But I also liked that when Bob made his first clones, how they were noticeably different.
Yeah.
So a photocopy of a photocopy of a photocopy is not going to be as faithful as the original. And if my clones are not exactly me, am I exactly Bob?
Yeah.
I love this whole metaphysical, metacognitive examination of who are. I love that too.
And then I liked how at one point he kind of had that thought of, I think all of us put together are Bob. Like, I am this certain aspect, and he is this certain aspect.
Right. I love that.
That's like my grandma has 4 daughters, and I've told my cousins that I think that the daughters are all different aspects of my grandma. So
if you could clone yourself though, and you're the last person in town,
okay,
and so you need to get, let's say, this building up and running again, and you can clone yourself 10 times, but it's just going to be you working with a campus full of you. Are you going to get along with you?
Well, if you're looking at it from Bob's standpoint, it depends on which aspect of my personality comes out. Yeah. If it's the grumpy, stubborn one, then no. If it's the one who's just here for the ride, then sure.
Or the glue sniffing version of yourself, or right? Because I was thinking about that too. Like, I know Jason Crockett can be a really difficult person to live and work with. I know. But do I like me? Could I get along with me? Are there days that I would be like, oh, Jason, he's so smug. He thinks oh, God, don't you hate him? Or are you going to be like, nah, I'm just going to hang out here and let him say his say? Because we all have such a variety of aspects to us.
Oh, yeah.
Bob is not even my favorite Bob.
Okay.
There are so many different Bobs out there. And you're right. Some of them like get into more business and some of them get into whatever. One of them is like an idiot.
I was going to say, your favorite's Homer.
It's not Homer. But I like that by this point, his VR version is a Simpsons version of himself where he's like, dude, what are you doing? What are you becoming? But yeah, here's the Homer version of you. No, my favorite is Riker.
Okay.
Again, as a kid who grew up on Star Trek Next Generation, as soon as I saw that, I was like, of course. Because he even takes himself so seriously as Riker that when he engages with the survivors on Earth, he represents himself and he says, this is Commander Riker of the Federation of Planets, and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, of course Riker would say that. And I could see him looking like Riker and everything. And I was just like, he thinks like Riker. He moves like Riker. This is brilliant. I love it. I love it. Riker's my favorite one.
I'm trying to think who my favorite Bob was. Probably the one that was kind of like mad at everybody and just said, I'm just going to go do
Milo.
Because that would probably end up being me. How far away from you guys can I get?
There was also Bill. There was Homer, right?
There was
so many of them.
Yeah, a lot of Star Trek names.
But there was also, there was a pair of them. There was Howard. And also something that I appreciated was when it started to get serious for them. Because from an AI consciousness perspective, you're infinite. You're immortal. I'm going to be able to live forever. As long as I have battery power, I can live forever.
Yeah.
I can copy myself. I'm infinite. But when one of them goes into a star system and suddenly encounters resistance, oh no, the Brazilians are already here and replicated, and they shoot him out of the sky before he can back himself up, that copy of you is lost forever.
Yeah.
And Bob 1 is like, oh, well, we got his upload, but it was only partial. What do? File him under in memoriam. So they start having to do that. If you don't get yourself backed up in time, you are functionally dead, like whichever copy of you. I don't know. I loved it. I expected that your problem was going to be a theological one.
Okay, what theological problem?
So every time I introduce this book to people, they'd be like, what are you reading? I'd said, it's called We Are Legion. They instantly were like, ooh, I don't know, Dad.
Like a satanic thing?
Because that's where the line comes from. When Jesus goes to cast out the demons, and there's so many of them bottled up in that boy. And he says, what's your name? They say, we are Legion, for we are many.
Yeah.
And he casts them out into pigs to go drown themselves. So it's a demonic reference, right? In my head, I still haven't rationalized why Taylor went with We Are Legion for such a good guy. Like, I feel like Bob and the Bobs are pretty good guys.
Yeah.
So I haven't rationalized that yet.
I do. Okay, now I don't know Dennis Taylor. And if he comes across this, which I doubt, but if he does, and I'm completely wrong, I apologize. Okay? But I do think that we're dealing with someone who I would say is probably atheistic, right?
Oh, could be.
I'm just guessing based off of your book. But I've also said that I agree with some of the problems you point out, right? But I do think that he really gets into a lot of like questioning why would people believe in such a thing. Well, and his Bobs are like, that's one thing that Bob talks about a lot is, well, I explained my atheism to them and they understood me quickly, you know, and things like that. So I wonder if it's kind of like, because there are many of them, if it is kind of like this means nothing. Legion just means a lot. Do you know, added a layer to that. That is something, though, that I wanted to talk about with one of my biggest problems of the book, though, is I'll read my note in total. So if
I'm going to write it down to myself and see if it matches up what I think your biggest problem is.
I said, Taylor uses this narrative as a means to move atheistic thought. He creates a Christian theocracy and makes them the bad guys. Fair enough. We're acting like them right now. But he also drops hints about being atheist, and then he even talks about how he rationally stepped out his atheism to the new United Nations. But then one of the Bobs basically becomes God. He basically says that humans could not have advanced without some type of higher order of help when Bob starts helping with the drone as the Bobbe, or however they said that. So either he is acknowledging that there was divine help, or he is acknowledging that aliens have advanced us. That's one of my biggest problems with this whole thing.
When I got to the part where he finds the non-human alien life and sentient life and decides, I'm going to start interacting with it. It's him and his partner Bob that we have to help this kid out.
And this is Bob 1, is it not?
It is.
I think so, yeah.
And this race of, they look like humans that have pig faces and bad ears. They're drawn on the inside cover masterfully, right? That he recognizes there is a spark of genius in this one. And these gorilloids that are preying upon them are like hunting them into extinction. If we don't act, we're going to lose a sentient race from the universe. We have to do something to help. But as a good Star Trek fan, we know that the prime directive means I can't interfere with a pre-warp drive society. I can't interfere with a society that has not yet gotten itself up to the level of technology that we can play ball. I can't interfere and play God. So he does have that qualm, but he's like, they're really on the edge of death. We have to help them. When he started speaking through the droid, Bob, I was like, oh, Drew's not going to like this. He's going to have a problem here because Bob is playing God.
Yeah.
And he does admit to himself at a certain point, I really got to stop doing this. A, because it's not right that I do this. And B, they're becoming dependent upon this voice.
Well, also the other version of himself that's with him is real passive aggressive about it.
Right. He said, "I'll give you another year and then I'm out of here." We have talked before, like in Between Two Fires, like these theological questions come up, and it's like it's a little bit awkward to have to talk about that sometimes. I do think that Taylor's book asks people to question their faith. But I didn't take it from a bad angle of, see, there really is no God. Like, not that. To question, what do you just blindly go along with as your faith? The United States dissolves itself and becomes this hegemony because they elected a so-called Christian to lead a theocracy of so-called Christians who are not being good Christians.
Right.
You're willing to nuke the planet to save your own brand of church.
Yeah.
And that's not Christian.
Right.
On a long enough timeline, you look at, when we were talking about Tolkien, on a long enough timeline, you see that there have been wars before and wars here and there. On a long enough timeline, you have a different perspective of things. And I think that's something unique to readers, is that we get to leave so many lives and experience things from so many different faiths and beliefs and intellects and experiences. I never experienced the Holocaust, but having read Night and having read, all of these other experiences, I don't need to have gone through it when I at least have some empathy for the people who did. On a long enough timeline, I think it's good to question your faith and make sure you're not being a blind follower of certain rhetoric.
Yeah.
Again, I'm okay if Genesis didn't happen exactly in 7 days. I'm okay if it happened in 7 billion years or 7, seconds or whatever. I'm okay with however it happened, because whether I believe it happened that way or not, the universe keeps on ticking by. It's still here. Yeah. And whether I know the mind of God or not, God is still going to keep on doing whatever God wants to do, whether Jason, understands him or not. I think it's a really neat way of looking at the human experience through a different lens that asks us to question, did you really do that? Did you really think that was the way it was? Did you really believe that the universe was built this way?
Yeah. I mean, I've watched videos of theologians say, if you're not questioning your faith, you don't have a faith. Like there's no strong faith there. Like that's part of a healthy faith is questioning it. Yeah. So I'm not against that. I think to me the biggest issue I have with it is I did feel like that we are trying to say, like I said, like I think he was portraying Christianity specifically as extreme, and like I said from my note, fair enough, because we're acting like that in America right now. He was portraying this, but then also on the flip side, when you talk about, well, this is my atheism, and I stepped that out through with them rationally, and they understood that, and things like that. Okay, whatever, fair enough. But then you have this scenario in your book, and I feel like that, to me as a reader, which you and I have talked about how I read a lot of what we read together through a religious lens. Mm-hmm. So I'm already starting to see, okay, well, here's a message that I'm picking up, and I'm open-minded to read it. I enjoy the science fiction. But I just felt like that this scenario that was kind of at the heart of the book really was throwing, I don't know, to me it just destroyed any type of argument he had before. Because like you said, you've got this sentient race, and you could even go back and I don't know, maybe that's what he's talking about, but there were more humanoid figures than just Homo sapiens at one point. So I mean, are you saying that we were on the verge of a collapse and we need the help of a God figure to get us through? Are you saying that now we as a society are on the verge of a collapse and we need the help of some divine figure or some alien higher order intelligence? That's essentially what he is, right? Yeah. He is a higher intelligence than anything on that planet, anything in the universe, really. So are you saying that we have to have a higher because if you are, then you've destroyed the argument that you've built up to so far. That was my biggest issue with it.
I can see that. And if he's being too biased in favor of an atheistic view of, well, this cleanly answers things better. Yeah, I can see that. I thought it was more of one big story about the foolishness of humanity, thinking that it knows all answers and keeps getting itself into situations. Like how many times if we had encountered, let's say that we were here in Cookeville and we had encountered an indigenous society in Allgood that has never had human contact before, but man, they're starving right now, and I have to be able to give them something, or they're dying of a sickness that I can easily cure if I give them this. But if I give them that, do they suddenly look upon it and say, oh, behold, this is the one thing, and it was given to us in this one way. It must always be. You're a heretic if you don't take it this way. No, you think that you're whatever. And immediately we descend into tribalism. Yeah. Or like, is that the central flaw of humanity? Is that here we are being gifted a new chance. Like Earth is dead. It's dying. You have a new chance on Romulus and Vulcan. I loved that he named it. It was like, oh my God, it's Star Trek all over again. You can have a new chance on one of these worlds. But even the survivors on Earth, It doesn't even have to be about faith. Mm-hmm. It immediately descends into tribalism of, well, we had them first. We heard it first. No, this is our base. We have more people. Well, aren't we fewer? We need to get off here first. And it immediately descends into me, I. And poor Riker can't stand it.
Well, it reminds you of that scene on Project Hail Mary where Strat's trying to rationalize with Ryland Grace that you don't have a choice, but you need to look at it this way. And she was like, the world, if we work together, we'll have 30 more years, and we won't, and people will starve. And that's the same thing as you've got these people who are needing help, and we in faith created Bob, so we deserve a spot on your what did they call them? Your colony ships.
Mm-hmm.
And
But even faith in originally couldn't get along with its own self.
I know,
They were so questioning the heretical teachings of this. I don't know that this is actual theological truth. Dude, what are you even talking about?
Which, hey, you know what? And maybe I'm completely wrong, but maybe he is a Christian and he is saying, like, look, we can't even get along ourselves. Like, we can't even get on the same page together.
You had picked this book for us because you said that so many people were comparing it to Project Hail Mary, or readers who like this are going to like this. I see it.
Yeah,
I
do
completely
too.
see why.
My brother Raji, we'd watched the Project Hail Mary movie, which Raji read Project Hail Mary before you or I both did.
Right.
And he was in a Project Hail Mary. Well, you know how the Facebook algorithm will send you these recommended groups. Mm-hmm. And he said this Project Hail Mary group came up and he just joined it, I don't know, for whatever reason. But that they had said that if you liked Project Hail Mary, the book or movie, because I feel like they're so close together, that you would enjoy the the Bobaverse. Yeah. And then Andy Weir on our cover, I believe, says like, I love the Bobaverse. And so, we were talking about how Irid is mentioned and all of these things. I think that there are definitely influences from this book that you can find in Project Hail Mary.
I do think that is one of the points about Project Hail Mary that's a little bit too idealistic, is the idea that all the world societies would agree to suddenly work together and even let Eva Strat have temporary autonomy over everything. Mm-hmm. Like, having survived 2020, and I could see that even the United States couldn't get along. Like, individuals couldn't get along, let alone all the countries of the world. We faced a global crisis then. Suddenly, we couldn't even work together. So I think that's a bit too idealistic. But something like this, I was like, okay, this is more how it's going to be.
I enjoyed Project Hail Mary a lot more, but I do agree with that whatever's happening on Earth, that's what made it hard to read at the beginning, which is why I liked it. The first part so much is it's like, this is what is realistically could happen. And then, when we started reading this, the Iran war was just starting. Literally, like the week we read it is when all that started. And it's kind of like when I read 1984 in the pandemic, and you would read in the morning about the Big Brother changing the news to make sure he was right. And then you would watch the news in the afternoon and the White House is changing the COVID numbers to make them look like they're correct.
Right.
And then, you get into the Bobaverse, and like you said, we're talking about the Middle East getting nuked and all these things, and you've got a president who's threatening to annihilate societies and all this stuff, and it's just kind of like, man, like we are on the verge of this sometimes. And sometimes maybe, we talked about that with Lord of the Rings too. Sometimes maybe things look worse to us in the present than they do in the span of history. Mm-hmm. But you just read stuff like this, and it's just, especially with that paragraph I read, a guy running on quote unquote faith who's really not a part of that faith, but I'll run on that. And like you said, distort that and corrupt that to the extent that we have sacrificed what's precious and valuable to us just for the sake that we can have a say at the table, and you can't.
Yeah,
is essentially what it is. But also, one thing too, you were talking about how if we come across a society and all good, that is something that he kind of talks about with Bob and meeting. What was the race of the people? What did he name them?
Deltans.
The Deltans, yeah. when Bob is trying to help the Deltans and they identify where Flint is, and they are like, well, why are you not at the old place? It makes no sense. Like, let's go. We're going to lead you. And they have to cross this mountain pass. And you've got this old dude walking with them, this old Deltan who just is kind of like, yeah,
Moses.
We used to have that. I told y'all we used to have that. I don't remember why we left. I was just a kid, but we used to have that. And then they cross the mountain, and all of a sudden, it's infested with gorilloids, and we have a massacre. And immediately Bob is kind of like, okay, that's why they didn't do that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, oh, sugar. What was I just looking at? I appreciate Bob's nature as not a perfect human being, understandably sarcastic and everything. I get that sometimes I seem smug, but whatever, I'm going to do this. But Bob is ultimately pacifist, because when Bob begins his construction of some sort of weapons to fight the Brazilian probes and everything, he doesn't go for weapons. He tries to find anti-weapon solutions. So he comes up with the busters, which are basically bowling ball elements that he's throwing at things. You don't have to bombard Earth with nuclear weapons. You could get a 2x4. You could get a baseball. And if you hurled it at Earth at a right velocity, you're going to cause catastrophic damage from such a heightened speed. So he's going to combat these probes by finding something that's like non-lethal, but will be lethal to him. He doesn't want to have to make nuclear weapons. Yeah. It's not until later, by the Heaven Threes, that he finally comes up with new tech, the laser beam. And it's like, oh my gosh, I love Bob having to improve himself and reinvent these things. I loved it.
Well, it was necessary for him to survive because the Brazilians were there. What about the scene where they come across the Australian who had lost his mind?
Yeah. I thought that was a really cool characterization too, because it reminds me of like movies like Mad Max and some of the others, when you find the crazy out in society, or out from society. He's lost in the wasteland, and what has happened, but he's gone crazy with isolation. He's gone crazy with what happened to him.
And he had a lot of pity for that too, which we come to find out that Faith had stolen the Australian tech. Yeah. And that was one reason that they were able to kind of like restore him. And I don't know, they almost like put him in a mental bay because they like restore him back to Australia or something like that. So.
Yeah, I liked, as a person who likes political intrigue stories, I liked how there was all of the palace intrigue with this. Like you mentioned, you find out later that, our Bob technology, our heaven technology only works because we stole it from the Australians. But also, there is, when he does come back to Earth, when Riker comes back to Earth, he finds that the Brazilians are trying to bombard Earth by shepherding in asteroids. There are a few remaining survivors on Earth, and the Brazilians are trying to kill whatever's left of humanity by just shepherding in asteroids from the asteroid belt and dropping rocks on Earth. That made my stomach sick. Yeah. To find out that there is, even now that we have saved Earth, we're trying to build colony ships, we will generationally get you all off of Earth into the stars. Even now, there's people on Earth who are like, no, it's our purpose to die. Humanity is meant to die. So there is a subversive group called Vehement that's trying to undo everything and annihilate ourselves. What is wrong with humanity that even here at the end, I'm giving you a life raft and you're like, no, we deserve to die. Kill everybody. That is not your choice to make.
Even that group that had the Svalbard vault, they were like, if you don't take us, we're just going to blow this thing up. So
I think it was a really good excoriating, but also delightful look at humanity. I thought the book was great for that.
Here's, I've got a couple more notes. One thing I've got a quote. It says, needless to say, debates are low on logic and high on rhetoric.
Yes.
Oh, man, I was like, okay.
How many times did Riker disconnect himself and just leave up a feed of himself looking at them, but knowing, I can't look at them right now. It's so numb. Or he would
did
have
the Zoom call where you put the picture of you there. Yeah.
Or he would have to like speed up his frame rate so he could just fast forward through this part and get out of it. There was also a line on here that it's like, politics really is universal. That even here we are, this species of Deltans that have never met humans, but man, they're operating in the same way. People are people are people. Look here, politics is doing the same thing as it did on Earth.
I do have here, though, some of the messaging for me was coming into focus, which I do think was really good. What is a living being?
Yeah.
What is free will?
Yeah.
And what defines life?
I love and hate when friends or students or whatever come at me with their beliefs about things. And we've talked about this before, especially when they're students who are like 15 or 14, and it's like, you think you're such a political free thinker. Where did you get all of these ideas?
Right.
I know you're repeating things you heard at home. But true talk, that's the human experience. An uncomfortable question for many of us as believers: are you a Christian because you evaluated all the possible choices, you heard all the possible truths and said, this is the one and only truth? Or is it because I was raised in this family that believed this way, and so my beliefs are basically just coded into me from an early start? But if I had been presented other options, if I'd been raised in a different way, would I believe and think and feel and act the way that I am now? Is Jason Crockett not just a product of his raising?
Sure.
If Superman had not landed in Smallville, Kansas, would he have gone on to be the same guy that he is? If he had landed in Soviet Russia and had been raised as the Red Sun, if he had been different, like, who are we? Who are you? I think it's a really cool question.
Yeah, that's something I tell my college class that I teach on Wednesday nights a lot. Is the most embarrassing moment for me in my faith. I was working at Averett, and a guy behind me was an atheist, and I was not the best example of a Christian then. So kudos to him to ask me this. But he turned around, I'd said something, and he was like, why do you even believe? And I said, I don't know, I just do. And I will never forget that, because it's like you said, like, you've got to at some point, and this is, I guess, getting into theology talk, but you've got to at some point question your faith and examine it, because you've got to sit here and say, why am I here? And if you're not doing that, then I don't know. I'm not the judge of that. But I do think at some extent you're just living a superficial faith. You're just sugarcoating a life, and you're just kind of going along with it. A friend of ours, we were talking about the anti-vaccine things, and where people are saying, I'm doing this for religious reasons. And that's I told them, I said, show me a verse in the Bible that says we're not supposed to take vaccines. I'd love to see that. And they said, well, I think a lot of these people have turned into, we're chasing a lifestyle and not a theology.
Yeah.
And I agree with that. And I think that comes with, I'm not really questioning my faith. I live in the Bible Belt.
Yeah.
And grandmammy took me to church my whole life. And so that's why I do think it's still important to read things like this that disagree with you, because you've got to confront your faith. That's why that guy said that. That's why he says that. Like, it's a healthy faith to question your faith, because if you're not questioning it at times, and this is something else I tell them too, is if I have a hammer and I don't test my hammer, right? I got this tool. I don't test this tool. And then one day I have to go do a big job, and I grab this hammer and I've not tested it, and I go to whack this nail, and the handle's wooden and it's dry rotted, and I didn't check that to reinforce it or anything like that. It's gonna break.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so you've got to question these things, because you've got to strengthen your faith. It's got to be reinforced.
What was the guy's question to you? Why do you believe the way you do?
Why do you even believe?
And you said, I don't know, I just do.
That was embarrassing.
if I were having a discussion with a kid who loves Charlie Kirk or their political beliefs or the color yellow or whatever it is, and I said, okay, but you are so pro this. Why do you believe the way you do? Why do you vote the way you do? Why do you choose this? And their answer is, I don't know, I just do. That right there reveals the problem in this conversation. It reveals the problem in this society of you are so convinced that your answer is right, but you have no conviction
no reason
for
why.
it's right.
And when it gets to, especially with the faith thing,
yes,
if I'm trying to minister to someone
yeah.
and I don't know my why, I have nothing to share with them, right? Like I have nothing. And you and I talked about that on our Einstein podcast. When I sit and examine and I think about like the solar system and the creation and Jupiter and all this stuff, and I think, oh, there's like design there. You know, there's design.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of this example I gave my kids the other night because they got to ask me some questions, and I was like, well, guys, look at this. Like, let's step through this. Something has arranged these things to happen. I can't explain why God chose to do these. I don't know the reasoning behind that, but let's look at this logically. And it says, oh, well, something has designed this. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so you've got to know your why. And that's something I have taught my kids in our English classes. I've told them it's not hard to be good at English. We've called it the chain of why.
Right.
Seriously though, like if I need to,
Yeah.
if I give an answer and that question can still be asked why or how, I'm not given a complete answer yet. And so we've got to go through this chain of why. That's how I've tried my best. Some of you out there listening, I tried my best to teach them how to be writers, is to, when you're doing your paragraphs and you're explaining these things, why, until I've completed it all. And yeah, you may have a 2-page paragraph, but you've got the information. Does that make sense?
Yeah. In my classroom, I call it the 5 whys. And I don't know who I stole it from. Some Japanese thinker probably. But yeah, somewhere along the line, somebody told me that if you have a belief about something or if you have a claim about something, ask why. Jason Crockett is so mad at blank. Why? Well, it's because of this. Why? Well, because he keeps doing this. Why? Well, so-and-so's letting him get away. And if you ask why at least 5 times, hopefully you're getting closer to what the real root of the problem is. It's not that you're just mad at this. You're mad at this chain of why that has led you to such and such. I have had a really great cohort of kids this year, and I've had some very convicted thinkers and believers and socially active people. And I recorded an episode at the end of the semester with a brilliant student of mine who is such a devoted person. I adore her. She wanted to talk about the social commentary in literature and society about sanctity of life. And she wanted to talk about how her beliefs as a pro-lifer, anti-abortion, that you have so many other options and why this is bad, this is good, and everything. And I know she is brilliant, and I hope she listens to this someday. We so often get into, well, I am against abortion because I'm pro-life. But so many people just leave it at pro-birth. If we're pro-life, if you really believe in a sanctity of life, and we're talking in We Are Bob, what is life? You have to be 100% about life. You have to have an appreciation for life. And that means I have to talk about the quality of life too. I can't just say so-and-so has to give birth to that child. I have to care for the life of the mother. I have to care for the life of what she's going through with this difficult pregnancy. Maybe it was a pregnancy wrought of rape, of incest. I have to care about the scenario of life. I have to care about the quality of life that child is going to go on to lead. And I can't just say, well, it's up to you. You birthed the baby. You have to care. No, I said the child had to be born, so I need to also provide a society that cares for the sanctity of life. I got into a debate with this kid years ago, another brilliant kid. I hope she listens to it someday. And she was taking, I was pro-life in this debate, and she was anti the capital punishment issue. And she's like, how can you be pro-birth and still be advocating people be executed for crimes? And I said, I'll make you this deal right now. I will give up capital punishment right here, right now. But you have to be in favor of the quality of life we're providing for people after that. It can't just be, well, now you had the baby.
Yeah.
Like, I'll surrender it right now. Capital punishment, I don't care. Life imprisonment. If we're going to be sanctity of life, we have to be sanctity of living of life.
Well, in James, he says true religion is taking care of widows and orphans.
Yes.
Now, you can look at that legalistically and say, so if I'm taking care of widows and orphans, then I have achieved true religion. But that's not what he's saying. He's saying we've got to take care of others. We've got to make sure that we're all taken care of. That's true religion. It's like you said, it's not a, well, you made the mistake. As Nathan Aaron said when I was talking about my third kid, if you can't pay the, what am I trying to say? If you can't do the time, don't do the crime. That's what he told me. And look, I that's a whole nother thing for us to get into, but I just think that it is okay to read books like Bob and still, I mean, I enjoyed it. I'm not saying it's not my favorite. It's not going to be on a Daddy's, I don't think.
Oh, that's sad. That's sad.
It's going to be on the Crockies.
It might.
But I don't know. I just the why, that's what, and I think that's something that he is examining is what is living, what is life. Okay, if I am a sentient being, artificial intelligence, sure, but I am developing this cyberkinetic body that I can feel. And he talks about how, like, when he's throwing with his dog, ball with his dog, I got to change the weight and the algorithm on this. So he's feeling things, and like, so what is life? Like, what I don't think any of us, well, I shouldn't say that. There's probably some of us who would choose an artificially eternal life. And you know what? It sounds pretty sweet at times.
If I could be Bob, I kind of want to be Bob.
Would you?
I kind of want to be this intellect.
I think you and Bob are the same guy, though. Because I don't know anything about Star Trek.
I want to make a Riker version of myself and cool, let's go out to the next star. I kind of want to do this.
Because see, when I was like, oh, here's a Trekkie.
Oh my gosh, I know, it is. Bob, in an interesting way, demonstrates some good Christian behavior. Like, Bob does have an appreciation that what you have done for the least of them, you have done for me. And he is trying to save these Deltans from extinction. He could look at them and just be like, I mean, they're critters. That was the old human Bob. His very first line is that he's talking to this salesman about the cryogenics, and he says, so you'll cut off my head? I raised an eyebrow at the sales critter. He doesn't even call him a salesperson. He calls him a sales critter. Human Bob is looking down his nose at this other human. But AI Bob sees a race of beings and appreciates there's a sanctity of life there. He doesn't even want to kill the gorilloids. He would like to just keep them separate from each other. Bob has an appreciation that life is a sacred, precious thing in the galaxy, and it needs to be preserved.
Yeah.
Faith, the organization that runs North America, doesn't have that because they're willing to nuke left and right. But Bob doesn't want to create weapons. He wants to preserve if we can.
Yeah. I do think, I don't want to say this.
Oh, no.
I do think I struggled with the sense of humor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Do you remember what part?
Just any
in
part.
general?
Yeah.
I do remember there being some parts I laughed out loud.
Yeah.
I chuckled out loud.
There was probably some that I did, but I think overall I was just kind of like, okay, you're trying to be funny.
I definitely finished. This was like, oh, I want book number 2.
Okay, that was
going to
be.
You were going to not.
Well, I was going to, because we got a couple minutes here. That was one of the things I wanted to wrap up with is, are we going to read book 2? Because if you read it, I'll read it.
I mean, I'm going to read it.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I was already, I was already excited about it when I got to the end of this, and I know that we have a billion other things to read. I don't know that any of the other books are going to hold up, because that's the danger of a sequel. You know, they might let you down now that he did so well. But if there is a whole Bob-averse and there's a fandom out there, then he must be doing something right. And I loved book number 1. Book number 2 is called For We Are Many.
Ooh.
And it's like, oh, that's that extension of We Are Legion. For We Are Many.
Maybe I wonder if Bob's turned evil or something.
Quit calling it that, Bob. Quit doing that. I do want to read at least the next one.
Raji said that, so he was like, it was okay, kind of like me. I expected him to like it less than I did. He said, though, that right after that, it recommended to him Dungeon Crawler Carl.
Yeah. Which
you have read. And he, I think, is reading right now. And I have plans to read towards the end of the summer. Yeah. And I just wanted to ask you this. Are they similar as in like, I guess, taste? Are they similar? Like if these were foods, would I be like, oh yeah, these taste similar?
Yeah, they're going to be on different platters. So Project Hail Mary is the ideal, hopeful, optimistic one. This one has more sarcasm to it and seems to be not as ideal on its view of humanity. Dungeon Crawler Carl is like what you experienced when we went to go watch Matt Deadman. Imagine there are a lot of crudeness. Imagine there are a lot of sarcastic views of humanity. And it's more of a fun ride. Don't expect anything deeply literary. There, I remember being a few parts of book 1 that I was like, oh man, that's rough. Like it actually slowed down, and I had, there was a little bit of gravitas in those parts. But mostly, it's a fun ride.
Yeah.
So they're on the same buffet, but they're different flavors.
You know, I've thought, though, after reading this, and this is, again, nothing against Dennis Taylor, you know that I like science fiction, but I don't think I'm as into it maybe as you are.
Yeah.
But I like to read it. I feel like I read a lot of different stuff. I mean, I'm going to pat myself on the shoulder here. But I do appreciate Andy Weir more after reading this, and I can understand why he's successful is because, I'm going to try to say this in a nice way, I can tell a nerd wrote this book.
Yeah.
And I think that Andy Weir is a nerd also, but I think he's kind of more in touch with how to like secular I can't say that. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Right.
Make it secular. Where I think he was just unabashedly like, I love Star Trek and I love Star Wars, and which is fine. I'm not bashing that. I'm just saying I understand why people connect with this, and this is kind of like a more of a cult type thing.
Because Ryland Grace admits, like, the Ryan Grace, remember, is like, I'm not supposed to be cool, but I'm actually cool.
Yeah.
But Ryland Grace is a loser, right? Who's forced to go on this quest. Bob, on the other hand, is like, I'm a winner. But really, Bob,
you're not.
You're one of us, Bob.
I did see an interview with Ryan Gosling where a guy asked him, he said, I've read the book and, you've done a good job of staying in touch with Ryland Grace. And he said, but Ryland Grace is, not a cool, like he's a loser almost, and you're just a cool guy. And he was like, why did you... Because apparently Ryan Gosling had a heavy hand in Project Hail Mary.
Oh, okay.
And he was like, why did you choose to take on... And Ryan Gosling was talking about reading the book. And he was saying, we are all Ryland Grace. And he got to talking about how Ryland Grace, was presented with the chance to be a hero, and how in typical stories we have like Bob saying, of course I'll be the hero. I am the hero. And Ryland Grace is kind of like, no, I'm just going to stay home.
Yeah.
And Ryan Gosling was just saying how he felt like that was just an authentic character, like we would all. So I was like, that's cool that Ryan Gosling pointed that out.
I do think Bob is an authentic character. If you had given this mission to somebody who is so self-assured that, no, I'm going to do what's my vision. This is the correct path. I'll do it. He's going to sound like Bob.
Yeah. Which also, those science fiction guys are like that.
Yeah.
Are they not? They're like...
A lot of them are.
They go out there doing their anime things, just so unafraid.
Maybe that's why we like Ryland Grace more, is because he's more humble. Yeah. He's more. What is it? Where you're worried. I'm not as cool. I'm not going to be as good. Like he's got that self-doubt, and Bob doesn't really. But Bob is an AI. I don't know that he has room for self-doubt.
I was the last few days of class where we were doing nothing. The kids were like playing cards or stuff, you know. There was one of those kids, I guess the sci-fi kids, anime kids, had brought Uno, and they were playing. And some of my journalism girls had stopped by class, and he had asked me 3 times in class if I could shuffle. I can't shuffle cards. I've never been a card player. So I was like, I can't shuffle cards. I can't help you out. Well, they came in, and I saw him kept looking over, and he was like, hey, can you shuffle cards, Mr. Haston? And I was like, dude, I've told you 4 times I can't. And then I saw him just like, real quick, can any of you shuffle cards? Gosh. And I was like, okay. What a player. I was just thinking, though, what that's some confidence right there. Like, I'm going to get you to come shuffle my Uno card. Right. That's what Bob would do.
That is.
Come shuffle my Uno cards for me.
Well, if you, had any of our listeners look at my game club that met 1 or 2 times this semester, right, you would see that why does Crockett have these kids gravitate toward his room? And then you look at the kids that gravitate toward your room. We do have different styles.
Yeah, we do. But that's okay. We're still buds.
I know.
We're still buds. But I can get down with that, too. So I'm not
You are down. No, you are down.
I've got something to tell you after this. All right. So we are going to read We Are Many. Now I'm feeling comfortable saying that because I didn't realize that it was like finishing the whole thing.
I expect, I'm going to predict that so you said you were a 3 with Bob.
Yeah.
I'm expecting that you're going to be a 3 at best with Dungeon Crawler Carl. I'm thinking you're in the 3 zone at best.
We're reading Lord of the Rings right now, right? Like, I can get down with it.
No, I know.
I just think that, I don't know. There's just like, I'm very picky. I'll read anything, but I'm very picky with things that I want to put my stamp on. Yeah. Does that make sense? Yeah. And so I can see that as well. Personally.
I think you're going to be a 3 with it. I feel like the characters and the story itself have more of this. It's not in this way, but it's more of like a hot rod kind of nerddom that we're gonna engage in. Whereas this was more Star Trek kind of nerddom.
Yeah.
And Project Hail Mary was just more selfless ideal. We can be good.
Yeah. Which I like space. That's what I'm saying. Like,
I know. Yeah.
I can get down with this stuff. So I don't want anyone out there to think that I'm bashing that. I'm not. Yeah. I'm not. I'm just saying that I think I'm very careful with things, like I said, to put my, I feel like if I give you a daddy, I'm putting my stamp on that. Yes. And that's what I'm saying. I don't think it's going to get a daddy.
Well, also think when we went to go watch Matt Dinneman and think about the 1,000 people that were around us, who's more likely to fit in that crowd, you or me?
Hannah.
We adore you. And even I don't necessarily fit into that crowd. Like when the Renaissance Fair is in town, I've been to it before, but I don't necessarily love a Ren Fair.
Yeah.
And I like going to conventions. I've never dressed up for a convention. And I'm not against it. I'm not against it. I love my nerddom too. I play Dungeons & Dragons. Well, I used to play Dungeons & Dragons.
I had a blast playing Dungeons & Dragons.
But, there's just, I don't know. I'm not a hot rod nerddom kind of thing. But I did really love Dungeon Crawler Carl. And I love this book.
And he loved Maud.
Really?
You did.
Oh, no, I did not. No, I did not. No, I did not. No.
All right, so we're going to read book 2. Who knows when?
Who knows when?
I gave it 3 stars. You gave it 5 stars.
I did. This is a 5-star book.
How many out of 20?
Oh, I don't know. This is like, are we cutting 5s off at 17 or 18?
18.
Okay, then it's an 18. And I know I just said Lord of the Rings, and our previous one was an 18, but that's different than this.
Yeah.
Okay, so this has to be like a 16, 17, 5 for me.
Okay.
Yeah. It can't be 18.
I'm probably going to give it a 9 or a 10.
Oh, wow.
It's just right in the middle.
That's sad.
Not
so much theological debate. It has so much sci-fi, so much adventure, so much intrigue and war.
I think that there were just some things I could not connect with. That's what I don't know. I guess for me, there were just a few things that I rolled my eyes at. Like the Homer character. He's hilarious. Yeah. I give you that. But at the same time, when he introduced the character, I was just kind of like, okay, well, of course we would have a Simpsons character. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, there were just a few things that I was just kind of like.
But Homer changes. He doesn't even stay that way. He becomes a different, more serious person.
And honestly, Homer is probably, between he and Riker, the actual rational thinker. I think Riker thinks that he is the leader and the rational thinker, but Homer's kind of behind the scenes, like playing things through, and he's like the voice of reason.
But Riker rolls his eyes at Homer. Riker is like, oh, God, do you really have to be like that? And you just said, I rolled my eyes at Homer.
Yeah. Well, on that bombshell. All right, how much at McKay's?
Oh, I'd pay $10 to $15 at first blush. Knowing McKay's nowadays, they'd probably say this is an 18 to 20, and I would still pay it. I love this book.
If I saw the covers, the editions that we have, they're really cool.
There's so much detail with the bobs on the side and the full art. Oh, yeah.
I would probably pay 10 or 15 for that at McKay's if I was looking for it.
Yeah.
If I come across that at McKay's, what would it take for me to buy? That's really what that scale is for.
Yeah.
I'd say probably like $4, especially if I'd just gotten done reading or watching Project Hail Mary.
Yeah.
So, now we have to say thank you as Dennis Taylor. Do you have your?
I don't have a picture.
Okay, I can pull it up.
I was gonna say, what is it? You don't want to do different bobs?
No.
Do they all sound the same?
Yes.
Even when they're irritated or whatever, do they all sound the same?
Oh, I don't have any internet. Hold on.
No.
Okay, you go first.
Well, I did like my book, and I did appreciate that it was a question of humanity. I did appreciate that there is so much irony and rottenness and sarcasm that I hope you can get what this is all about. So thank you.
Wow. You didn't like my book? Well, that's just too bad. I don't care. Well, that's not the Dennis Taylor I've got pulled up. Look at my screen. There he is. That's Dennis E. Taylor. I wrote the Bobaverse, and you don't like Star Trek? Well, that's just too bad because a lot of people do, you critter. So thank you.
Well, frankly, you're wrong. I myself happen to like Star Trek.
All the ladies tell me at Dragon Con that they like it too.
And one of these days, I think I do deserve a daddy. Hey, if you're a fan of good conversations and fresh takes on literature and the kind of school stories that stick with you long after the bell rings, well, I've got a podcast for you. It's called With Honors, and it's where my high school students have taken the microphone, not just to analyze books or talk about our lessons, but to reflect on what we've learned this year, have conversations about what surprised them, how our literature and classroom experiences connect to their real lives. And we talk about everything from symbolism and Poe to the pros and cons of class pets, and all through the voices of smart, curious students who have learned to speak their minds. New episodes drop regularly every week, and every one is a snapshot of what it looks like when students take ownership of their own learning and have a little fun while they're at it. You can find With Honors on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and our YouTube channel, so check them out.